realized last Sunday when I was preaching, I didn't have my mic on. I'm still learning where it's on and where the on and off is, I guess. I thought I had it down, but I had it backwards last week. So I apologize for that very much. I want us to spend a little time today, first Sunday of the new year, looking at the Word, the light, and the glory of God. Sometimes those can be difficult things for us to grab a hold of. I don't know how you spent your New Year's Day, but I spent it sleeping some on the couch, making pork and sauerkraut. And we invited a friend over and we said, you know, you could bring that movie with you that we gave you for Christmas. And she did. And so we watched the movie Midnight in the Garden of Good and Evil. See, Mary and I were down in Savannah during that one little week period that I was gone from here after I started. And so we brought back from Savannah that movie for our friend because that's where it was filmed. In that movie, if you don't know what it's about a wealthy single man who was charged with murdering a young man who he employed. It turns out, as you get into the trial, that he not only employed the young man, but he was also intimate with him as well. Faced with testifying, he is told he will need to be brutally honest about his relationship with the young man. And he looks at the friend and at his lawyer and he says, "Not with my mother in the court." She's already heard the rest of the testimony where other people have talked about it. But he says something very important. He says, "She hasn't heard it from my lips yet." Words are important. What we say is important. Mom could deny all she wanted to until she heard it from the lips of her own son. So when he testifies, she sits outside of the court. If you don't believe how important words are, ask Steve Harvey. You know, if you don't know, I don't know where you've been, but he's the one who accidentally read the wrong words in announcing the winner of the Miss Universe pageant. Miss Columbia received the crown and was about to take her victory stole when Harvey stopped everything and admitted his mistake and pronounced the real winner was Miss Philippines. Awkward. John's opening words tell us his gospel is going to be very different from the other gospels. It's built on metaphor and symbol. It's more spiritual than it is religious. It's a lot of paradox and paradigm. Words that build into a much larger story. John has a point to make that Jesus is the Christ for the Jews and the Gentiles, the Judeans and the Greeks. You see, the community of the beloved disciple John worships a God made known to all of us, not just to some of us. And John begins his work with two huge metaphors that he uses again and again and again throughout his telling of Jesus' life. He begins with the Word. Jesus is the Word, John says. Jesus is not just a word. Jesus is the Word. John is saying, if you want to hear God speak, listen to Jesus. the Word. But John doesn't stop there. John also says that Jesus is the light. The light. The light that illuminates the way. Light that illuminates the way that life is. And the way that life can be. I don't know about you, but not many of us know what true darkness really is. Back in the time of John, they would have known what true darkness really is. They didn't have street lights. They didn't have flashlights. They didn't have lights so you could walk in and turn on with a switch, or clap your hands, or touch. They didn't have lights that you could flip a switch and the whole room is lit up. Let alone ones that are on dials and you can dim them down if you want. It took a lot to start a fire back in John's day. They didn't just take a lighter and just say, oh, let's have a flame. If you've ever gone into a cave, it's one of the things I love to do because you can really experience true darkness. If you've ever gone into a cave, they'll take you into the very center, and at some point during the tour of the cave, they'll often turn off all the lights. And you can't even see your finger this close to your eyes. True darkness. John knew, and so did those who lived in John's day. They knew what true darkness was. Light was precious, and it was used to illumine the way. Again, for John, not just for the few, not just for the rich, not just for those who had, but for all people. All people. And Jesus was the one who would light the way. Peggy Campolo, who I met several years ago, introduces herself in this way. She says, I'm not a Christian. She says, I'm a follower of the way. I'm a Jesus follower. She says, Jesus didn't know the word Christian, and so I won't use it either. I'm a Jesus follower. I am a person of the way of Christ. Christ came to illumine that way for us, to show us that it was possible to have the divine within, still be human, but allow that light, that divinity, to show. Now, Jesus may have done it to an extent that most of us measure ourselves and we say, we couldn't possibly. But the Bible is not asking us to be Jesus. The Bible asks us to simply be ourselves and to follow that word and to let that light of Christ shine out from within us, even as Jesus did. I want to suggest to you this morning that where the word and where the light come together, that's where the glory of God is. Where the word and the light come together, that's where the glory of God is. In those times and places where the truth, the word, is known, and the way is illumined by the love of Christ, that's where God is glorified every time. There's a movie out, I haven't seen it yet, but I was reading some about it, Concussion. The movie about the doctor who did all the research after he had done autopsies on several NFL players And he said, there is something here. And he had the courage to simply speak the truth. NFL didn't like it very much. There were a lot of lawsuits threatened and everything else. But it was the truth. It couldn't be put down because it was the truth. And he illumined the way for changes to happen and for a discussion to take place in our country that's needed to take place. The human expense for our enjoyment of a game. It was a discussion that needed to happen, where the Word and where the light come together. There, God is glorified. If we try to run from either the Word or hide the light, God can't be glorified in those places. But the reason Christmas is such a special time, and those days following Christmas, is because we are celebrating an extraordinary moment when the Word and the light came together and God's glory was known. Our challenge in the 21st century, our challenge as Dover United Church of Christ, our challenge as followers of the way, is to know that truth within ourselves. It's to know that light within us, and to allow that truth and that light to be our pathway into the new year, into our future, into every day of our living. Then we will glorify God, and we will have so much fun doing it that people will say, what's going on with you guys over there? What's going on with you? Oh, we're just having fun in the glory of God. We're letting the truth and the light direct our way. Not what I want or you want, or the next person.